Aging. What does it truly mean to grow old? For many, it's a word laden with fear and discomfort. We associate it with loss, decline, and inevitable death. What if I told you that in the realm of Zen Buddhism, aging is not something to fight, but something to embrace? What if the wisdom we seek in life, the kind that often eludes us in our frantic search for success, youth, and achievement, can be found in the wrinkles on our face and the gray in our hair? The ancient Zen masters offer a radical truth. Aging is not a failure, but an opportunity, a deep spiritual invitation that teaches us patience and acceptance. While the world around us is constantly striving to hold on to the fleeting beauty of youth, Zen presents a different path, one that encourages us to let go of what we cannot control and to find joy in the present moment, exactly as it is. In this story, we explore 5 revolutionary Buddhist teachings that offer new perspectives on aging, perspectives that turn it from a burden into a spiritual practice, one filled with meaning and wisdom. These teachings can radically change how we view each passing year, each birthday candle, and the inevitable changes in our bodies and minds. By sharing these insights, we discover that the wisest monks don't fear aging, they celebrate it. They understand that every gray hair and every crease in the skin is a testament to a life fully lived. The truth is, we spend so much of our lives striving to chase after things that are as fleeting and impermanent as a rainbow. But the real magic, the true joy, comes not from chasing, but from letting go, from embracing what is here, right now, in this moment. And so, we begin with the first Zen lesson on how to embrace aging, embracing imperfection. As I reflect on my own journey of aging, I remember the influence of my grandmother, a woman whose Zen practice deeply shaped my understanding of life. She had a beautiful ceramic tea bowl, cracked in several places. To anyone else, it might have appeared imperfect, fragile even, but to her, it was a symbol of something far greater. It was a symbol of wisdom, of life lived fully, of things learned the hard way. I remember the day I clumsily suggested she replace it. The crack seemed so obvious to me. Surely a new, pristine bowl would be better, wouldn't it? After all, who wants something broken when they can have something flawless? With a touch of humor and grace, she accepted my offer. She knew I was only trying to help, but she took the cracked bowl in her hands and gently traced the crack with her finger. "This crack," she said, "this is where the light comes in." I didn't understand her words at first. How could a crack be a place for light to enter? But she continued. "The bowl," she explained, "was part of a batch she had made with a dear friend long ago. Her friend had passed away some time ago, but the bowl, with its imperfections, held the memory of their shared creation. If she replaced it, she would be throwing away more than just an object. She would be discarding a piece of her own history. This crack," she said, "reminds me of impermanence. It is a beautiful reminder that things do not stay the same forever. I embrace it, and in doing so, I find peace in knowing that everything, including me, will change." As she poured the tea into both bowls, I couldn't help but notice how the act of drinking from that cracked bowl felt different. The story, the history, the memory of her friend. These all added a layer of depth that the new bowl simply couldn't offer. The tea tasted the same, but the experience was richer, more profound. This was the first lesson my grandmother taught me about aging. Embrace imperfection. Zen Buddhism teaches us that everything is impermanent. Our bodies change, our minds evolve, and our circumstances shift. We are not meant to stay forever young, perfect, or untouched by the passage of time. To resist this flow is futile, like trying to stop the tide with a teacup. It is exhausting, and ultimately, it doesn't work. True freedom, true peace, comes from accepting the cracks, the wrinkles, and the gray hairs as signs of a life fully lived. It's not about avoiding the cracks, it's about finding the light that shines through them. As we age, we are given the opportunity to see our flaws and imperfections not as burdens, but as badges of honor. Every wrinkle tells a story. Every gray hair speaks of wisdom and experience. And it is through accepting these imperfections that we come to appreciate the beauty of life in its natural state. So, how do we move from resisting aging to genuinely embracing it? How do we shift our perspective from seeing aging as a loss to seeing it as an opportunity for growth and wisdom? It begins with a shift in how we view endings. Zen teaches us that endings are not the conclusion, but the beginning of something new. The second key to embracing aging is understanding that every end is, in fact, a new beginning. And with this, we enter the next phase of our exploration. Aging often feels like a long series of losses. The loss of youth, the loss of vitality, the loss of people we love. These losses can be overwhelming, and we may find ourselves grieving what is no longer there. But what if we reframe these losses not as endings, but as invitations for new beginnings? What if we view the changes that come with aging as an opportunity to grow, to explore new chapters in our lives, and to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us? There's a classic Zen story that helps us understand this perspective. A monk once came to his master, visibly distraught by the falling leaves in autumn. The monk saw the leaves as a symbol of decay, of death approaching, and of the inevitable end of summer. He lamented the loss of the vibrant green leaves, feeling a sense of sadness and despair. But the master smiled, as he always did when teaching a profound lesson, and said, "Look closer. The falling leaves nourish the earth, preparing it for new life. They become the foundation for growth in the spring." The monk, still focused on the loss of the leaves, did not understand the master's words at first. But as he reflected, he realized that the falling leaves were not a sign of death. They were the beginning of something new. In time, the leaves would decompose, enriching the soil for the new life to sprout in the coming spring. And so it is with aging. We often focus so much on the loss on the things that we no longer have that we fail to see the beauty of what is beginning. The loss of our youth, our strength, and our independence can feel like an end, but it is in reality the beginning of a new phase of life. Each wrinkle, each gray hair, each new limitation is not a mark of decay. It is a sign of growth, a preparation for the next chapter in our journey. This is the second Buddhist truth about aging. See endings as new beginnings. Retirement is a perfect example of this shift in perspective. For many, retirement represents the end of their career, the conclusion of decades of hard work and ambition. But what if we saw it not as the end, but as the beginning of a new chapter? In retirement, we are given the time and space to explore new interests, pursue passions that may have been put aside, and perhaps find a deeper sense of purpose that goes beyond the work we once did. Aging, in this light, becomes not something to mourn, but something to celebrate. It is the opening of new doors, the chance to begin again. Similarly, when physical limitations arise, whether it's the slowing of our bodies, the loss of energy, or the need for assistance with things we once did effortlessly, we often feel frustration, resistance, and sadness. We may see these limitations as signs of weakness or decline. But what if, instead of fighting against these changes, we embrace them as invitations to explore new ways of moving, being, and expressing ourselves? There are countless examples of individuals who, as they age, turn to new forms of creative expression, find new hobbies, or even develop new skills. Whether it's learning to play an instrument later in life, taking up painting, or starting a new business venture, aging can present the perfect opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to explore parts of us that we may have overlooked in the rush of youth. This shift in perspective is not just about thinking positively or trying to put a cheerful spin on the inevitable. It's about truly seeing the world differently. It's about recognizing that what appears to be an end, a loss, a limitation, is actually the beginning of something richer, something more profound. In Zen Buddhism, there is no fear of death, no fear of endings, because endings are not seen as failures or things to be avoided. Rather, they are understood as part of the natural cycle of life, part of the ebb and flow that makes life so rich. Every ending, whether it is the falling of leaves or the closing of a chapter in our lives, creates the conditions for something new to arise. And so, as we move through the aging process, let us take a moment to reflect on what is beginning in our lives. Even as something ends, what new possibilities are waiting for us if we are open to seeing them? What new growth can emerge from the fertile soil that our experiences and wisdom have created? The third key to embracing aging is cultivating compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. Compassion is the antidote to the fear and resistance we often feel as we age. It is the practice that allows us to face our limitations and changes with kindness, with understanding, and with grace. This leads us into our next section, where we'll explore the transformative power of compassion in our aging process. Compassion, in its purest form, is the ability to recognize and respond to suffering, whether it is our own or others. As we age, we inevitably face challenges, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. It's easy to become frustrated with ourselves when we struggle to keep up with our younger selves, or when we find ourselves feeling overwhelmed by loss or change. But Zen Buddhism teaches us that true growth comes not from avoiding or fighting against these struggles, but from embracing them with compassion. There was a time in my life when I struggled deeply with anger. I was holding on to resentment towards someone who had hurt me. The pain and anger sat inside me like a heavy weight, affecting every part of my life. I spent weeks crafting a scathing letter, pouring all my resentment onto the page, imagining how I would unleash all of my hurt in one great expression of fury. But as I reread the letter, something inside me began to shift. I realized that my anger, though understandable, was hurting me more than it was hurting the other person. Holding on to it was like carrying a stone in my heart, weighing me down with bitterness. It was in that moment of clarity that I understood the true meaning of compassion. Compassion isn't just about feeling sorry for others. It's about understanding their suffering and responding with kindness and empathy. And just as importantly, it's about extending that same compassion to ourselves. In that moment, I made a commitment to let go of my anger. I didn't send the letter. Instead, I burned it, watching the paper dissolve into ash as I let go of the weight I had been carrying. Through meditation, I began to deepen my understanding of compassion. I realized that the person who had hurt me was also suffering. We all do. In the process of letting go of my anger, I learned that holding on to resentment only perpetuates suffering. The true path to peace lies in the ability to forgive not just others, but ourselves as well. As we age, the practice of compassion becomes even more crucial. We face more pain, more loss, and more limitations. Our bodies may not work as they once did, and our minds may wander more frequently. We may find ourselves grieving the loss of friends or loved ones. But in these moments of difficulty, it's important to remember that compassion both for ourselves and for others is the key to navigating life's challenges with grace. Zen teachings often speak of self-compassion as the foundation for all other forms of compassion. To be truly compassionate toward others, we must first learn to be kind and patient with ourselves. This is particularly important as we age, because the tendency to criticize ourselves or to focus on our perceived flaws can become more pronounced. Aging is a process of change, and change can feel uncomfortable. But if we approach ourselves with compassion, we can begin to embrace these changes as part of the natural unfolding of life. It's also essential to practice compassion toward others, especially those who may have wronged us. Holding on to anger, bitterness, or judgment only keeps us trapped in a cycle of suffering. As we grow older, we have the opportunity to reflect on our past relationships and experiences, to recognize where we've held on to resentment, and to offer forgiveness not as a favor to others, but as a gift to ourselves. In Zen, compassion is not just an emotion, it is a practice, a way of being. It's about actively seeking to relieve the suffering of others, whether through our actions, our words, or our presence. As we age, this practice becomes more important than ever. We may find ourselves needing compassion from others, but we also have the opportunity to offer compassion to those around us, sharing the wisdom we've accumulated through the years. Compassion also plays a crucial role in how we face mortality. Aging inevitably brings us face to face with our own death. It is something we cannot avoid, something that will eventually come for all of us. But the Zen teaching of acceptance can help us face this truth with peace rather than fear. By cultivating compassion for ourselves, we can meet our mortality not with dread, but with understanding. This brings us to the fourth Buddhist truth, which is crucial to our journey of aging with grace. Cultivating acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation. It is not giving up or surrendering to the inevitability of aging and death. Instead, it is the conscious choice to acknowledge the reality of what is without resistance. Acceptance means understanding that some things are beyond our control, like the passage of time, the changes in our bodies, and the eventual end of our lives. But by accepting these realities, we free ourselves from the struggle against them. We no longer need to fight the natural flow of life. Instead, we can choose to live each day with intention and purpose. In Zen, there is a beautiful story about a gardener who plants seeds. A curious child asks him, "How do you know these seeds will grow into beautiful flowers?" The gardener replies, "I don't know. I have faith. I prepare the soil. I water the seeds. I provide the conditions for growth. The rest is up to nature." The gardener understands that while he cannot control the outcome, he can create the right environment for growth. Similarly, as we age, we cannot control the process, but we can choose how we respond to it. We can focus on what we can influence: our health, our relationships, and our spiritual growth. Acceptance frees us from the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead of spending our energy fighting against aging, we can choose to embrace the present moment fully, living each day with a sense of purpose and gratitude. As we age, it's important to remember that we are not powerless. Aging is not something that happens to us. It is something that we can choose to navigate with grace and intention. It's about making the most of the time we have, focusing on what truly matters, and letting go of the things that no longer serve us. Now, let us move forward to explore how acceptance allows us to face mortality with peace, and how it shapes our understanding of life's meaning. Acceptance of mortality is one of the most profound lessons we can learn as we age. Zen Buddhism teaches that our fear of death often stems from our attachment to life as we know it. We spend so much time clinging to the familiar, to the comforts of the world, and to our own sense of identity that we forget that death is simply a part of the cycle of life. Just as day follows night, youth follows aging, and death follows life. It is a natural progression, one that cannot be avoided, no matter how much we wish it were otherwise. The practice of acceptance, as taught in Zen, is not about denying the reality of death, but about recognizing it as an integral part of life's journey. Instead of fearing death, we are encouraged to embrace it with an open heart, understanding that it is just another chapter in the eternal flow of existence. This is the fourth Buddhist truth: cultivating acceptance. Through acceptance, we can approach aging and eventually death with a sense of peace, free from the resistance that only causes suffering. There is a Zen teaching that illustrates this point beautifully. It tells the story of a gardener who tends to his plants with great care. A curious child asks him, "How do you know these seeds will grow into flowers?" The gardener responds, I don't know. I have faith. I prepare the soil. I water the seeds. And I provide the conditions for growth. The rest is up to nature. The gardener understands that he cannot control the outcome, but he can create the conditions for growth. Similarly, in life, we can't control the inevitable aging, illness, and death, but we can choose how we respond to them. We can create a life filled with intention, compassion, and acceptance, which will allow us to face the unknown with grace. This teaching helps us shift our perspective on mortality. When we accept that death is a part of life, we can stop fearing it and start living fully in the present. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean we give up on our health or our relationships or our dreams. It simply means we stop fighting against the inevitable and begin to live each moment more fully, appreciating the richness of life as it unfolds. As we age, this shift in perspective is crucial. We often experience a fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of what comes next. But Zen teaches us that the future is uncertain for everyone, no matter how old we are, and yet we can still find peace in the present moment. The key is to focus on what we can control: our actions, our choices, and our mindset. We can't control the number of years we have left, but we can make the most of the time we do have. Acceptance also allows us to face death not with dread, but with understanding. It frees us from the fear that can grip us as we approach the end of our lives. Zen teaches that by accepting the impermanence of all things, our bodies, our relationships, and our very lives, we can live more deeply. We are no longer tied to the fear of losing what we have. Instead, we can embrace each moment as it comes, knowing that everything is temporary and that every moment is a gift. As we age, it is natural to experience loss of loved ones, loss of energy, loss of the life we once knew. But rather than focusing on what we have lost, Zen encourages us to focus on what we still have. We still have the ability to love, to connect, to create, and to learn. We still have the power to choose how we live in the present. Acceptance allows us to see that aging is not a tragedy to be mourned, but a natural and beautiful part of life's cycle. In accepting aging and mortality, we gain the freedom to live more authentically, to live in alignment with our deepest values, and to find peace in the knowledge that death is not something to fear, but something to embrace as part of the great flow of life. But what happens when we face the bumps along the way, the challenges and obstacles that arise in our lives? How do we navigate these inevitable difficulties with peace? The answer lies in understanding the power of the present moment, which brings us to the fifth Buddhist truth: finding meaning in the present. The present moment is all we truly have. It is the only moment we can truly control, and yet it is often the one we take for granted. In our pursuit of goals, in our longing for the past, and in our anxiety about the future, we forget to fully live in the here and now. Zen teaches us that meaning is not something we find in the past or the future, but something we actively create in the present moment. It is through our actions, our relationships, and our connection to something larger than ourselves that we create meaning in our lives. In Zen, There is a beautiful story about a man rowing a boat down a river. He is content, the sun is shining, and the water is calm. He is making good progress and feeling at peace. But suddenly, another boat crashes into his, jolting him out of his tranquility. Instinctively, he looks up, ready to lash out in anger at the person who caused the collision. But then he notices something. The other boat is empty. There is no one at the oars. There is no one to blame, no one to be angry at. This story, a classic Zen koan, illustrates a profound truth about life. In moments of frustration, we often seek someone or something to blame. We look for a cause for our suffering, whether it is a person, an event, or a situation. But what happens when there is no one to blame? What happens when we realize that there is nothing to hold on to? No empty boat, no source of anger. In those moments, we are faced with the freedom to choose how we respond. As we age, we may find ourselves in situations where we feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or resentful. The body doesn't work the way it used to. The mind is not as sharp. We face challenges that seem beyond our control. But like the man in the boat, we can choose how we respond. We can choose to cling to anger and frustration, or we can choose to let go and embrace the present moment with peace. The empty boat teaches us that in life, there will always be bumps along the way, unexpected events, losses, and changes that seem unfair or beyond our control. But these bumps are not something to be angry about or afraid of. They are simply part of the flow of life. In the same way that the man in the boat cannot control the collision, we cannot control the obstacles that come our way. But we can control how we respond. We can choose to navigate our boat with intention, compassion, and grace. And this is where the final key to embracing aging comes in. It is through the present moment that we find meaning in our lives. By letting go of the past and the future, we can truly live in the here and now. This is the essence of Zen, to live fully, to embrace each moment with mindfulness and acceptance. The truth is, we often fail to live in the present because we are consumed by the past or the future. The past is full of memories, regrets, and stories we tell ourselves about what could have been. The future is filled with anxiety, worry, and hopes for what might come. Yet, the present is all we have. It is the only moment in which we can truly live and experience life fully. And as we age, the present moment becomes even more precious. We begin to realize that the future is not guaranteed, and the past is behind us. The only place we can act, reflect, and experience joy is in the now. Zen teachings emphasize the importance of living in the present, without attachment to what was or what could be. The present moment is where we find peace, where we experience true joy, and where we connect with our inner wisdom. In this moment, there is no need to grasp at anything. There is nothing to hold on to, no future to worry about, and no past to regret. The present is simply a place of stillness, a place where we can experience life as it is. This teaching becomes especially important as we age. When we are young, we often feel invincible, like time stretches endlessly before us. But as we get older, we become acutely aware of the passing of time. We realize that each moment is precious, and that it is in the present that we truly have the power to create meaning and purpose in our lives. Aging is not an ending, it is a shift, a deepening of our relationship with time. It is the realization that we do not need more time to live a meaningful life. We only need to live fully in the time we have. Zen teaches that the present moment is where we can find true freedom. It is where we can release the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future. When we live in the present, we let go of the need for control, and we embrace life as it unfolds. We accept the natural flow of change and transformation, understanding that each moment is a gift. Aging, then, becomes an opportunity to experience the richness of life more deeply, to savor each moment, and to find joy in the simplest things. This realization can be both liberating and humbling. As we age, we often find that the things that once seemed important, career achievements, material success, or the pursuit of perfection, become less significant. What truly matters is how we live in the present, how we show up for ourselves and others, and how we find meaning in our daily actions. In the Zen tradition, there is no distinction between the sacred and the ordinary. Every moment is sacred. Every action is a form of meditation. Whether we are drinking tea, washing dishes, or taking a walk, every act is an opportunity to be present and to practice mindfulness. In this way, aging becomes a spiritual practice, a continuous invitation to live fully, to be present, and to embrace the changes that come with time. The practice of mindfulness in aging is about paying attention to the present moment, without judgment or resistance. It is about recognizing the beauty in each wrinkle, each gray hair, and each limitation, knowing that these changes are not signs of decline, but signs of a life lived fully. In this way, aging becomes an opportunity to practice gratitude, to appreciate the gift of life, and to recognize that every moment is an opportunity for spiritual growth. As we grow older, we may find that we have more time to reflect on our lives, to assess what truly matters, and to make changes if necessary. This is the opportunity that aging provides, the chance to live intentionally, to cultivate our values, and to make choices that align with our deepest desires. We may find that what once seemed important achievements, possessions, or status no longer holds the same significance. Instead, we may find that our relationships, our sense of purpose, and our connection to the present moment become our greatest sources of joy and fulfillment. Zen teaches us that it is not the length of our lives that matters, but how we live them. It is not the amount of time we have, but how we use the time we are given. And as we age, we are given the opportunity to live more fully, to embrace the present moment with open arms, and to find meaning in the everyday experiences that make up our lives. As we continue this journey of aging with Zen wisdom, let us remember that the present moment is the only moment we truly control. We may not be able to stop the clock or turn back time, but we can choose to live fully in the time we have. We can choose to embrace aging not as a loss, but as an opportunity for growth, wisdom, and a spiritual awakening. In the next section, we will explore how to let go of the fear and anxiety that often accompany aging, and how to fully embrace the wisdom that comes with the passing of time. As we journey through life, fear often becomes a constant companion. Fear of what lies ahead, fear of what we might lose, fear of what we cannot control. This fear intensifies as we grow older, often manifesting as anxiety about aging, illness, and death. It is as if the ticking clock serves as a reminder that our time is limited. And the more we become aware of this limitation, the more fearful we become. But in Zen Buddhism, we are taught that fear itself is often the result of attachment to what we think should be, to the way things used to be, or to the way we want them to be. Fear arises when we resist the natural flow of life and try to hold on to something that is destined to change. Aging then becomes a profound opportunity for us to confront and release our fears, to let go of the attachment to permanence, and to embrace the impermanence that is inherent in life. Let me share a story that helps illustrate this. A few years ago, I went through a difficult period of uncertainty. My health was not what it used to be, and the once vibrant energy that fueled my days had started to wane. I feared what this meant for my future. I had always been someone who took pride in my strength and independence. But now, those very things seemed to be slipping away. I feared becoming dependent on others, losing my ability to do the things I loved, and ultimately losing my sense of self. During this time, I remembered a lesson from my Zen teacher. He often spoke about the nature of fear, encouraging us to meet it directly, not by pushing it away, but by observing it, understanding it, and allowing it to dissolve on its own. So, one day, I decided to sit in meditation and focus on my fear. Instead of resisting it or trying to push it away, I simply sat with it, allowing the fear to arise and acknowledging it as a natural part of my experience. In that space of stillness, I realized something profound. The fear I was feeling was not rooted in reality. It was rooted in my attachment to the way I thought things should be. I had created a story in my mind about aging that was based on the idea that growing older meant losing something valuable, something irreplaceable. But as I sat with my fear, I saw that the only thing I truly had to lose was the attachment to my past self, the version of me that I had held onto so tightly. In Zen, we are taught to let go of attachment in order to experience true freedom. This doesn't mean we stop caring about life, or that we become indifferent to our well-being. It simply means we stop clinging to the idea of permanence. The moment we stop holding on so tightly to what is fleeting, whether it is youth, vitality, or even the certainty of tomorrow, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from attachment. The truth is, aging does not diminish our worth or our capacity for joy. It simply asks us to let go of the old stories we've told ourselves about who we are. It invites us to redefine ourselves, to live in the present moment, and to accept that change is an inevitable and beautiful part of life's unfolding. Fear only arises when we resist that change, when we allow ourselves to flow with it. We begin to experience the freedom that comes from acceptance. This is the fifth Buddhist truth about aging. to find meaning in the present moment by letting go of the fear and attachment that cloud our vision. By embracing the present, we open ourselves to the fullness of life, regardless of age or circumstance. The present moment is where we have the power to create meaning, to connect with others, and to live authentically. In Zen teachings, there is a concept called beginner's mind. It is the idea of approaching each moment with fresh eyes, as if experiencing it for the first time, without the weight of past expectations or future anxieties. This is the attitude we must cultivate as we age. We may no longer have the same physical energy or the same level of independence, but we can still approach life with curiosity, openness, and a sense of wonder. Each day becomes an opportunity to discover something new, to connect with others in deeper ways, and to create new experiences that enrich our lives. As we embrace aging with beginner's mind, we also learn to appreciate the small moments, those seemingly insignificant experiences that make up the fabric of our daily lives. Zen teaches us that there is wisdom to be found in the simplest of things, in the act of sipping tea, in the sound of the wind rustling through the trees, in the smile of a loved one. These moments, though fleeting, are what give our lives meaning. They are where true happiness lies. In this way, aging becomes a spiritual practice. Each year, each wrinkle, each new limitation becomes an invitation to cultivate mindfulness and presence. It is through this practice that we come to understand the depth of life, not in the things we accumulate or the accomplishments we achieve, but in the quality of our experience in each moment. And so, we continue this journey, letting go of our attachments to the past and the future, embracing each day with openness and acceptance. In the next section, we will explore how this shift in perspective can transform the way we approach not only aging, but every aspect of our lives, leading to greater peace and fulfillment. As we age, one of the greatest challenges we face is learning to navigate the subtle shift in how we relate to the world. When we were younger, much of our life was oriented around external achievements, careers, relationships, accomplishments. These markers were often seen as signs of success and were used to define who we were. But as time passes, these external markers lose their hold over us. We find ourselves facing the internal world more than the external one. The body no longer moves with the same ease, and the mind, once sharp and clear, may become clouded with forgetfulness or fatigue. Yet, this shift is not something to mourn. It is an opportunity to deepen our connection with our true selves and to explore the spiritual path with new eyes. Zen Buddhism teaches us that our sense of self is not tied to the external world. The true self, the one that transcends age, identity, and possessions, is always present beneath the surface. As we age, we are invited to uncover this deeper aspect of ourselves, to peel away the layers of identification that we have built over the years. Zen masters often speak of the concept of no self or emptiness. This does not mean that we cease to exist, but rather that we begin to see beyond the ego, the self that clings to labels and categories. It is through this process of self-inquiry that we begin to realize that who we truly are is not dependent on our age, our body, or our mind. Our true essence is timeless. As we age, the layers of ego and attachment that we've accumulated throughout our lives slowly begin to dissolve. This process of letting go can be challenging, but it is also liberating. It is through shedding these layers that we come to know our truest selves, beyond the roles we've played or the identities we've adopted. I remember a moment in my own life when I experienced a profound shift in perspective. I had always been defined by my work. My career was something I took great pride in, and it was how I measured my success. But as I grew older, I found that my work no longer fulfilled me in the same way. The drive that once motivated me was fading, and I began to feel lost. My self-worth had been so closely tied to what I did, not who I was. During this time, I turned to my Zen practice for guidance. Through meditation, I started to question my attachments, my attachment to my work, my identity, and my role in the world. Slowly, I began to realize that my worth was not defined by what I did or how others saw me. My true value came from within, from my ability to be present in each moment and to offer compassion to myself and others. This realization didn't happen overnight. It took time and a deep commitment to self-reflection. But as I continued to practice, I began to experience a profound sense of freedom. I no longer needed to cling to the external markers of success. I was able to find peace in simply being, without the need for validation or recognition. This is the essence of Zen, to live without attachment, to experience each moment as it comes, and to be fully present in the here and now. This process of letting go is not just about releasing our attachments to material things or external achievements. It is also about letting go of our fear of aging. So often, we view aging as something to be avoided, something to fight against. We cling to our youth and vitality, fearing that without them, we will lose our sense of self. But Zen teaches us that aging is simply another phase in the cycle of life, not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. As we let go of the fear and resistance we feel toward aging, we begin to see the beauty in the process itself. In Zen, there is a practice known as Zazen, or seated meditation. It is a practice of sitting still, being present, and allowing the mind to settle. In the stillness of Zazen, we come to see that the mind is constantly in motion, constantly grasping at thoughts, desires, and fears. But beneath this constant activity is a place of stillness, a place where we can connect with our true essence. This is the place of peace, of wisdom, and of clarity. As we age, we can approach life with this same sense of stillness. We can allow the inevitable changes to unfold without fear, knowing that beneath the surface of aging lies the same stillness and peace that we find in meditation. We are not defined by our age, our body, or our mind. We are defined by our ability to be present, to accept the flow of life, and to live with intention and grace. This understanding is not a denial of the challenges that aging presents. It is not an attempt to escape the difficulties of growing older. Rather, it is an invitation to embrace the present moment, to find peace in the natural process of aging. and to cultivate the wisdom that comes with experience. In the next section, we will explore how embracing this stillness and acceptance can help us navigate the inevitable challenges that arise as we age. We will look at how we can face loss, illness, and the limitations of our bodies with grace, knowing that each of these challenges is part of the natural ebb and flow of life. As we age, we are faced with inevitable challenges: the loss of loved ones, the deterioration of our bodies, and the decline of our mental sharpness. These challenges can feel overwhelming, and it is easy to fall into despair when faced with the reality of mortality. But Zen Buddhism teaches us that suffering is not something to avoid, but something to understand and transform. Aging, with all its trials and tribulations, is not a tragedy, but an opportunity, a powerful invitation to practice acceptance and to cultivate resilience in the face of change. One of the most profound aspects of Zen practice is the ability to sit with suffering, to be present with discomfort without clinging to it or resisting it. This is a deeply counterintuitive approach in a world that constantly seeks to avoid pain. But it is through this practice of embracing suffering that we can find true peace. By accepting the natural flow of life, including the pain that comes with aging, we open ourselves to the possibility of transformation. In the Zen tradition, there is a teaching about suffering and joy. It is often said that suffering and joy are two sides of the same coin. Just as joy is fleeting and impermanent, so too is suffering. Both are part of the same cycle, and both are essential to the human experience. When we embrace the inevitability of suffering, we are no longer consumed by it. Instead, we learn to sit with it, to observe it without judgment, and to find peace even in the midst of difficulty. This doesn't mean that we should seek out suffering or welcome it with open arms. Rather, it means that we should accept that suffering is a part of life and that it can be an important teacher. Aging, for example, is often accompanied by physical pain, aches and pains in the body, the wear and tear of years of movement and use. It is tempting to resist this pain, to try to ignore it or push through it. But Zen teaches that true peace comes not from avoiding pain, but from accepting it as it is. When we stop fighting against the inevitable discomforts of aging, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from resistance. This acceptance is not passive. It is an active engagement with the present moment. We are not simply enduring the discomforts of aging. We are learning from them. Each moment of discomfort is an opportunity to practice patience, to deepen our understanding of impermanence, and to cultivate mindfulness. Aging becomes a practice in letting go, in releasing our attachment to the way things once were and embracing the way things are now. Another important aspect of Zen is the idea of not knowing. In Zen, we are encouraged to approach life with a sense of curiosity, with the understanding that we can never fully know or control the future. This is particularly true as we age. We cannot predict what will happen to our bodies, our minds, or our relationships in the coming years. And yet, in this not knowing, there is freedom. We are free to live fully in the present moment, without the burden of expectation or fear of the unknown. we are free to be who we are without the need to prove anything to anyone, including ourselves. As we age, we may experience the loss of cognitive function or memory. It can be disheartening to forget things that once came easily, to lose track of time, or to find ourselves struggling with words or ideas that we used to grasp effortlessly. But instead of focusing on what we have lost, Zen encourages us to focus on what we still have. In our later years, we may find that our wisdom, our ability to be present, and our capacity for compassion are far more valuable than the sharpness of our minds or the strength of our bodies. Zen teaches us to trust in the present moment, to know that everything we need is already here, even if it doesn't look the way we expect. When we face loss, whether it is the loss of a loved one, a dream, or a physical ability, we must remember that loss is also a part of life. It is through loss that we are reminded of the fragility of life, the preciousness of each moment, and the importance of being present with those we love. Zen teaches us that we are not separate from the world, but deeply interconnected with all beings. When we lose someone or something, we are reminded of this interconnection. We are invited to let go of our attachment to the illusion of permanence and to embrace the reality of impermanence with compassion and acceptance. This is the key to navigating the challenges of aging. Acceptance, not the passive resignation that comes from giving up, but the active acceptance that comes from living fully in the present, from letting go of our attachment to what was, and from opening ourselves to the wisdom that comes with age. Acceptance allows us to move through the inevitable losses of aging with grace and peace, knowing that each loss is not an end, but a transformation. In Zen, we often speak of the way of no mind. This refers to a state of being where the mind is clear, calm, and open, free from the distractions of thought, judgment, and attachment. As we age, we can cultivate this way of no mind by letting go of our need for control and certainty. We can let go of the anxiety that arises from not knowing what the future holds and embrace the uncertainty with open arms. This is the path of Zen, living fully in each moment, without attachment to the past or future, and embracing the present with open-hearted awareness. In the next section, we will explore how this understanding of acceptance and mindfulness can help us cultivate a deeper sense of peace and joy as we age. We will look at the practices that can support us in embracing aging as a path to spiritual growth, and how we can use the wisdom gained through the years to live more fully and authentically. As we age, we often find ourselves seeking deeper meaning and fulfillment. The things that once gave us purpose and identity, our careers, our physical appearance, our ability to perform at high levels, begin to shift. We may feel a loss of direction or a sense of confusion about what comes next. But Zen Buddhism teaches us that the path to peace is not about looking outward for validation or purpose. It is about turning inward, finding stillness, and reconnecting with our true selves. One of the most powerful aspects of Zen is its emphasis on mindfulness and presence. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully aware of each moment, of allowing ourselves to experience life as it is, without judgment or distraction. As we age, mindfulness becomes an invaluable tool for navigating the complexities of our changing bodies, minds, and relationships. It helps us find joy in the small things, the sound of birdsong, the taste of food, the warmth of the sun on our skin. It allows us to savor each moment, to appreciate the beauty of life as it is, rather than constantly yearning for something more. But mindfulness is not just about appreciating the present moment. It is also about accepting the inevitable changes that come with aging. As our bodies age, we may experience discomfort or physical limitations that can be frustrating or discouraging. But Zen teaches us that these changes are not something to fight against. They are simply part of the natural flow of life. By practicing mindfulness, we can learn to accept these changes with grace, to approach our bodies with compassion, and to find peace in the process of transformation. In Zen, there is a practice called just sitting, or shikantasa, which is a form of meditation where the practitioner simply sits without striving for any particular state of mind or goal. This practice is a perfect metaphor for aging. As we grow older, we may find that our usual ways of thinking, working, and doing are no longer as effective as they once were. We may struggle to maintain the same level of activity, or our minds may not be as sharp as they once were. But instead of resisting these changes, we can learn to simply sit with them, to be present with whatever is happening in the moment, without judgment or expectation. This is the essence of Zen practice, to let go of our attachment to what we think should be and to embrace what is, just as it is. The practice of just sitting is not only about sitting in stillness, it is about cultivating a deep sense of presence in everything we do. Whether we are walking, eating, or speaking, we can bring mindfulness to each action. By doing so, we allow ourselves to experience life more fully, without distraction or the compulsion to be somewhere else. As we age, this practice of mindfulness becomes even more important, as it helps us reconnect with the present moment and find meaning in the everyday experiences that make up our lives. Aging also invites us to deepen our understanding of impermanence. In Zen, impermanence is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. It is through recognizing the impermanence of all things that we can learn to appreciate them more fully. We learn to cherish the people in our lives, to savor the fleeting moments, and to find joy in the present, knowing that nothing lasts forever. Aging teaches us that nothing is permanent, and this realization, far from being a cause for despair, can be a source of liberation. When we accept the impermanence of life, we are freed from the need to hold on to things, to cling to the past, or to fear the future. In the process of aging, we often become more aware of the impermanence of our own bodies. Our physical vitality may begin to decline, and we may face challenges that we once took for granted. But instead of resisting these changes, Zen encourages us to accept them with compassion. Our bodies are not separate from us. They are part of the same cycle of life, and their changes reflect the natural flow of time. By accepting the impermanence of our bodies, we can free ourselves from the anxiety and fear that often accompany aging, and we can approach the changes with grace. Zen practice also teaches us the importance of non-attachment. In the context of aging, this means letting go of our attachment to youth, to physical appearance, and to the idea of what we should be at a certain age. We can learn to accept ourselves as we are, without comparing ourselves to the past or to others. Non-attachment does not mean indifference or resignation. It means living with an open heart and mind, free from the need to control or possess anything. One of the most profound teachings of Zen is the idea of not knowing. In this context, not knowing means letting go of our assumptions, our judgments, and our expectations about aging. It means approaching each moment with curiosity, openness, and wonder. As we age, we may not know what the future holds, and this uncertainty can be both unsettling and liberating. By practicing not knowing, we can let go of the need for certainty and embrace the mystery of life as it unfolds. Aging becomes not a decline, but an ongoing exploration, an opportunity to deepen our understanding of who we are and how we relate to the world around us. In Zen, there is no destination to reach, no final goal to attain. The practice is the path itself. Similarly, aging is not something to be feared or avoided. It is simply a part of the ongoing journey. Through the practice of mindfulness, acceptance, and non-attachment, we can embrace aging as an integral part of the spiritual path. Each moment of aging, each experience of loss or limitation is an opportunity to practice these teachings more deeply, to live more fully, and to awaken to the beauty of life in all its impermanence. In the next section, we will explore how Zen teachings can help us find peace and purpose in the final stages of life. We will look at how to face the end of our lives with acceptance and how to live each moment with the awareness that life is a precious gift. As we grow older, the awareness of mortality becomes more prominent. With each passing year, we are reminded that our time on this earth is finite, that life is a journey that will eventually come to an end. This awareness can stir feelings of fear or uncertainty, but Zen Buddhism teaches us to approach the end of life with acceptance, understanding, and peace, rather than fearing the inevitable. Zen encourages us to embrace death as an essential part of the cycle of life, a part that, when understood deeply, can bring greater clarity, freedom, and even joy. One of the most powerful teachings of Zen is the understanding that life and death are inseparable. In the same way that the waves on the surface of the ocean rise and fall, life follows a natural rhythm of birth and death. Just as the ocean cannot exist without its waves, life cannot exist without death. And while we often try to separate the two, treating life as something to be clung to and death as something to be avoided, Zen teaches us that they are both part of the same whole, each essential to the other. In Zen meditation, the practice of zazen-seated meditation is often seen as a preparation for death. When we sit in stillness, we come face to face with our thoughts, our fears, and our attachments. We confront the reality that we are not in control, that the future is uncertain, and that life will eventually come to an end. In this stillness, we begin to realize that death is not something to be feared, but something to be accepted as part of the natural flow of life. One of the Zen teachings about death is the idea of dying before you die. This teaching is often misunderstood, as it sounds like a form of resignation or giving up. But in Zen, dying before you die refers to the practice of letting go of attachment to the self. It means releasing the ego, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, and the fear of losing control. In this sense, dying before we die is about letting go of the illusions that bind us, allowing us to live more fully in the present, without the constant fear of losing something. This teaching is deeply liberating. It allows us to approach death not as an enemy, but as a natural part of life's cycle. By embracing death in this way, we free ourselves from the fear that often paralyzes us in the face of the unknown. We no longer feel the need to cling to our bodies, our identities, or our material possessions. Instead, we learn to live fully, knowing that death is not the end, but a transformation into something new. As we age, the practice of dying before you die takes on greater significance. With each passing year, we are given the opportunity to release our attachment to the past and to approach life with a fresh perspective. We no longer see aging as a decline, but as an opportunity to live more authentically, to embrace each moment, and to cultivate deeper peace within ourselves. Zen also teaches that the way we live is the way we die. If we live our lives with fear, resistance, and attachment, we will die in the same way, clinging to what we think we need, struggling against the inevitable. But if we live our lives with acceptance, mindfulness, and compassion, we will face death with the same grace and peace. This understanding shifts our focus away from the fear of death and toward the quality of our lives. As we age, it is important to remember that we are not simply waiting for death to come. We are living each day with intention, purpose, and mindfulness. Every moment, every experience is an opportunity to practice Zen, and in this practice, we find peace not in avoiding death, but in embracing it as an inseparable part of life's flow. In Zen, there is a practice known as Makio, which refers to the illusions or distractions that arise during meditation. These distractions are often seen as obstacles on the path, but they are also opportunities for growth. Similarly, as we age, we may face Makyo in the form of fears, regrets, or attachments. These distractions are not to be avoided, but to be recognized and released. Through the practice of mindfulness and meditation, we can learn to see these distractions for what they are and let them go, allowing us to move forward with greater clarity and peace. This practice of letting go is especially important as we approach the end of life. We may feel a natural inclination to hold on to the past, to try to control what is happening, or to fear the unknown. But Zen teaches us that we cannot control the course of our lives, and that true freedom comes from releasing the need to hold on to anything. In the end, we can only control our responses to life by cultivating mindfulness, acceptance, and compassion. We can face the end of our lives with grace and peace, knowing that we have lived fully and authentically. As we age, we also become more aware of our relationships with others. Zen teaches us that all beings are interconnected and that our relationships are a mirror of our inner state. In our later years, we may find that our relationships take on a deeper meaning. We may have more time to reflect on the people we love, to appreciate the connections we have made, and to cultivate new relationships that bring us joy and fulfillment. In the next section, we will explore how Zen teachings can help us cultivate meaningful relationships in our later years, and how we can use the wisdom gained through aging to connect with others in more profound and compassionate ways. As we age, the quality of our relationships often becomes more important than the quantity. In our youth, we may find ourselves consumed by the pursuit of success, achievement, and external validation, which often leaves our relationships on the back burner. However, as time passes, we begin to realize that the connections we form with others are some of the most valuable aspects of life. Zen Buddhism teaches us that true happiness and fulfillment come not from external accomplishments, but from the depth of our relationships with others and with ourselves. Zen emphasizes interconnectedness, the idea that all beings are connected in a web of relationships. In this view, we are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger whole. This understanding brings a profound sense of responsibility. We are responsible for how we treat others, for how we show up in the world, and for how we nurture the connections that matter most. As we age, our capacity for compassion and understanding grows, allowing us to connect with others in more meaningful and authentic ways. There is a Zen teaching that says, when you realize the truth of interconnectedness, you no longer see yourself as separate from others. You see yourself in everything and everyone. This teaching invites us to look beyond the surface and to understand that the way we relate to others is a reflection of our own inner state. When we are at peace with ourselves, we are more capable of offering that peace to those around us. In the later years of our lives, we often have more time to reflect on the relationships we have cultivated and the people we have met along the way. These reflections allow us to see the depth of the connections we have formed and to appreciate the beauty in both the joyful and difficult moments. Aging gives us the gift of perspective, an opportunity to look back on our lives and see how our relationships have shaped us. We come to understand that it is not the number of people we know, but the quality of those relationships that brings us true contentment. This understanding can be transformative. As we age, we can learn to approach our relationships with more intention, more mindfulness, and more presence. Zen teaches that each moment is an opportunity to cultivate compassion and understanding in our relationships. This means listening deeply to others, offering kindness without judgment, and being present in the moment without distraction. In this way, we deepen our connections and nurture the bonds that sustain us. Aging also teaches us the importance of forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others. As we look back on our lives, we may find that we have hurt others or been hurt by them. We may have regrets or unresolved conflicts that weigh on our hearts. Zen teaches That forgiveness is not about excusing the hurt, but about releasing the grip that resentment holds on us. By forgiving others, we free ourselves from the pain of the past and open the door to healing. Similarly, by forgiving ourselves, we release the guilt and shame that may have been holding us back from living fully in the present. As we age, we are also reminded of the preciousness of time. We realize that time is limited and that we cannot afford to waste it on relationships that drain us or no longer serve our highest good. Zen encourages us to discern which relationships are meaningful and which ones we need to let go of. This does not mean cutting people off, but rather approaching relationships with clarity and wisdom. By letting go of relationships that are toxic or unfulfilling, we make space for deeper, more authentic connections. Zen also teaches that the act of giving, whether through our time, energy, or resources, is one of the most meaningful ways to connect with others. As we age, we may feel that we have less to offer, but this is a misconception. The wisdom, love, and compassion that we have accumulated over the years are precious gifts that we can share with others. By giving of ourselves, we contribute to the greater good, and we create a sense of purpose and fulfillment in our lives. Aging provides an opportunity to shift our focus from external pursuits to internal growth. We begin to realize that true happiness comes not from accumulating wealth, success, or status, but from nurturing the relationships that are most important to us. By deepening our connections with others, we create a life that is rich in meaning, love, and understanding. In the Zen tradition, there is a concept called Sangha, which refers to the community of practitioners. This concept emphasizes the importance of relationships in spiritual practice. In the later years of our lives, we are invited to build and nurture our own Sangha, to surround ourselves with people who support us, challenge us, and help us grow. Our Sangha may include family, friends, mentors, or even fellow practitioners. These relationships are vital to our spiritual journey and can help us navigate the challenges that come with aging. As we continue on this journey, we will explore how to cultivate a sense of purpose and meaning in our later years. We will look at how Zen teachings can guide us in finding fulfillment and how we can live intentionally, creating a legacy of love, wisdom, and compassion as we age. One of the most profound questions we can ask ourselves is, what is the purpose of this time in my life? For many, the later years are a time of reflection, of looking back at the paths we've walked and the experiences we've had. But they are also a time of renewal, an opportunity to ask ourselves what truly matters and how we can align our remaining time with those values. Zen Buddhism teaches us that the search for meaning and purpose is not something we find outside ourselves, but something we create from within. In Zen, there is an emphasis on living intentionally, which means living in alignment with our deepest values and understanding the present moment as an opportunity for growth. Aging, in this sense, is not a time to look back with regret or to feel that we are winding down. It is an invitation to live with purpose and to actively engage with the world around us. Regardless of our age, each day offers the potential to live meaningfully. whether through small acts of kindness, deepening relationships, or dedicating time to something we are passionate about. Finding purpose in aging is not about striving to achieve what we once did, nor is it about chasing new accomplishments. It is about discovering what brings us peace and fulfillment, and then dedicating ourselves to it fully. Zen teaches us that true fulfillment comes from being present, from embracing each moment, and from aligning our actions with our heart's deepest desires. In this way, we find purpose not in what we accomplish, but in how we live and the relationships we nurture along the way. The practice of mindfulness in aging encourages us to be aware of the gifts that come with growing older. As we gain experience, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. This wisdom, accumulated over a lifetime, becomes our greatest gift to ourselves and to others. It is in sharing this wisdom that we create purpose in our later years. As we help guide others on their own journey, we no longer need to prove our worth to the world. We can live fully in the moment, knowing that our value comes from within and from the love we share. The pursuit of purpose in Zen also encourages us to question what truly matters in our lives. In a world that often defines success in terms of external achievements, money, career, status, we are invited to shift our perspective. Zen helps us understand that true success is not measured by what we have or what we accomplish, but by how we live and how we impact the world around us. As we age, the pursuit of material wealth or external validation naturally fades, leaving us with the question of what truly matters. This shift in perspective can be liberating. Aging allows us to release the need for external markers of success and embrace the internal satisfaction that comes from living in alignment with our values. When we stop chasing the approval of others and instead listen to our own hearts, we can begin to find fulfillment in simple moments, the joy of spending time with loved ones, the peace of sitting in nature, the satisfaction of a life well lived. Zen Buddhism teaches us that living intentionally means living with awareness of the impermanence of all things. Each moment is a fleeting, precious gift. As we age, we become more attuned to this reality, and we are given the opportunity to live more deeply. Instead of focusing on what we don't have or what we've lost, we are invited to focus on what is still available to us in the present moment. This brings us to the concept of legacy. As we approach the later stages of our lives, we often begin to think about the legacy we will leave behind. In Zen, a legacy is not defined by material wealth or achievements. It is defined by how we live and how we touch the lives of others. Our legacy is the wisdom we share, the love we offer, and the kindness we extend to those around us. It is the way we live each day with intention, with compassion, and with mindfulness, rather than focusing on what we leave behind in a material sense. Zen encourages us to focus on the legacy of our actions, the way we treat others, and the impact we have on the world. It is in living authentically and compassionately that we create a legacy that transcends time and continues to inspire long after we are gone. As we age, we are given the opportunity to reframe the concept of legacy. It is no longer about what we accomplish, but about how we live. It is about being present in the moment, embracing aging with grace, and offering our wisdom, love, and kindness to others. Our legacy is built not on the things we have, but on the love we give and the relationships we nurture. In the next section, we will explore how Zen teachings can help us cultivate peace in the final stages of life. We will look at how to prepare ourselves for death, not in fear or anxiety, but in acceptance and peace, knowing that the end is simply another transition in the endless cycle of life. As we approach the later stages of life, one of the most profound experiences we face is the awareness of our mortality. This awareness can bring up feelings of fear, anxiety, or uncertainty, but Zen Buddhism offers us a unique perspective, one that invites us to prepare for death with acceptance, peace, and mindfulness. In Zen, death is not something to fear or avoid. It is simply another transition in the continuous cycle of life. Just as a river flows into the ocean, our lives move toward death, and in this process, we can find deep peace by embracing the natural flow of life and death. The practice of facing death with an open heart is a central teaching in Zen. It is about accepting the impermanence of all things, not just in an intellectual sense, but in a deeply felt, embodied way. We are reminded that everything we experience is temporary and that the nature of life is change. Aging and death are simply part of this ongoing transformation. By fully accepting death as part of the cycle, we free ourselves from the fear and resistance that can cause suffering in the face of death. We are invited to see death not as an enemy, but as a teacher, a natural end to our physical existence that opens the door to something beyond. In Zen, there is a powerful practice called corpse meditation or shikoku. This meditation involves contemplating the impermanence of the body, imagining the body as it will be after death, and reflecting on the reality that death comes for us all. While this may seem morbid or unsettling to some, it is actually a profound practice that helps us develop a deep understanding of impermanence. By contemplating death in this way, we come to realize that our time is limited, and this awareness encourages us to live more fully in each moment. The practice of corpse meditation is not meant to create fear or sadness, but to help us embrace the truth of impermanence. When we acknowledge that death is inevitable, we can stop wasting time and start living more intentionally. We are reminded that every moment is precious, and that the true gift of life lies in how we live each day, not in what we accumulate or achieve, but in the quality of our relationships, our actions, and our mindfulness. As we age, we may also experience a deepening sense of gratitude for life. In Zen, gratitude is a key practice for cultivating peace and contentment. When we are mindful of the impermanence of life, we naturally become more grateful for the moments we have. This gratitude can transform our perspective on aging. Instead of viewing aging as something to fear, we begin to see it as an opportunity to deepen our appreciation for life. We learn to savor each moment, knowing that it is fleeting and precious. At the same time, Zen teaches us to let go of attachment not just to people, things, or achievements, but to the very concept of ourselves. We are encouraged to release the need to control or cling to any aspect of our identity. As we age, we may feel the pull to hold on to the image of who we once were. But Zen reminds us that this is a false attachment. Our true selves are not defined by our age, our physical appearance, or our achievements. Our true selves are found in the present moment, in the awareness we cultivate, and in the love and compassion we share with others. Letting go of attachment to the self is one of the most profound Zen teachings, and it becomes especially important as we face the realities of aging and death. We are reminded that the self is not a fixed, permanent entity, but a fluid, ever-changing process. By letting go of the need to hold on to a particular self-image, we free ourselves from the fear of aging and death. We can embrace the natural flow of life, knowing that our true essence transcends the limitations of the body and the mind. One of the most beautiful aspects of Zen practice is the ability to find peace in the face of death. Zen teaches that death is not an end, but a transition, a return to the source, the great mystery of existence. By embracing death with an open heart, we find peace, knowing that our lives are part of the larger whole. The natural cycle of birth, death, and rebirth continues, and we are simply a small part of this ongoing flow. In Zen, there is also a practice called dying well, which involves preparing ourselves for death in a spiritual and mindful way. This practice encourages us to live in such a way that we are ready to meet death with peace and acceptance, knowing that we have lived fully and authentically. Dying well means living with intention, without regrets, and with a deep sense of gratitude for the time we have. It is about letting go of fear, attachment, and resistance, and accepting the natural flow of life and death. As we approach the end of our lives, we can take comfort in the knowledge that death is not something to fear. It is a natural part of the journey, and it is through accepting this reality that we can find peace. In Zen, we are reminded that the only true certainty in life is change. Just as we cannot stop the tides from coming in, we cannot stop the natural cycle of life and death, but we can choose how we respond. We can choose to embrace aging, to live each day with mindfulness and gratitude, and to prepare ourselves for death with peace and acceptance. In the next section, we will explore how to live fully in the present, regardless of how much time we have left. We will look at how Zen teachings can help us cultivate a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in our final years, and how we can approach death with a sense of peace, knowing that we have lived well. As we reflect on our lives and prepare ourselves for the inevitable journey toward death, it is essential to understand that how we live in the present directly impacts how we will experience the final stages of life. Zen Buddhism teaches us that true peace does not come from postponing death or pretending that it isn't approaching, but from living with full awareness of the impermanence of life and embracing each moment fully. This awareness shapes not just how we face our death, but how we live every day leading up to it. One of the most powerful lessons in Zen is the idea that life is not something to be escaped or transcended. It is a process to be embraced and experienced fully, no matter what stage we are in. This means that aging, rather than being a sign of decline, is an invitation to deepen our understanding of what it means to be alive. The more we are able to let go of our attachment to the idea of youth, beauty, and physical vitality, the more we can focus on the spiritual aspects of life that become increasingly available as we age: wisdom, love, and a deeper connection to the present moment. As we approach the final years of our lives, Zen encourages us to live intentionally. Each day becomes an opportunity to connect more deeply with ourselves and others, to practice gratitude for the moment we still have, and to release the need to control or cling to anything that is temporary. It is through this acceptance of the present moment, combined with a willingness to let go of our fears and attachments, that we truly prepare ourselves for death. The Zen teaching of living without attachment helps us live with a profound sense of freedom, especially as we age. Attachment, in this context, is not just about possessions or people, but about our relationship with the self. As we age, we may feel the pull to hold on to the identity we once had, the physical vitality we once possessed, or the accomplishments we achieved. But Zen reminds us that these identities are fleeting and impermanent. We are not defined by our youth, our body, or our mind. The essence of who we are is timeless and ever-present. Letting go of attachment is a process of liberation. It allows us to live more authentically and to face death without fear. When we are attached to a specific idea of who we are or who we should be, we are constantly in conflict with the reality of aging. But when we let go of these attachments, we can embrace aging with peace and clarity, knowing that we are not the body, the mind, or the accomplishments, but the awareness that witnesses them all. In this way, death becomes a transition, a natural part of the cycle that we no longer fear or resist. Zen teaches us that death is not the end, but a return to the source, a return to the natural flow of life that we are all a part of. This understanding helps us approach the end of life with a sense of peace, knowing that we are part of something greater, that our essence is eternal, even if our physical bodies are not. Another important aspect of living fully in the present as we approach the end of life is the practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others, allows us to release any emotional baggage or unresolved conflicts that might weigh us down. As we age, we may find that we have accumulated regrets, grievances, or feelings of anger toward others. These emotional burdens can prevent us from fully living in the present. Zen teaches us that forgiveness is not about excusing the actions of others or letting them off the hook, but about releasing ourselves from the pain that these unresolved emotions cause. By forgiving others and ourselves, we free ourselves from the past. We let go of the need to hold on to old wounds, and we open ourselves to the possibility of peace and healing. This is not just important for our emotional well-being, but for our spiritual growth. When we forgive, we make space for love, understanding, and compassion to flow freely within us. Similarly, we must forgive ourselves for any perceived shortcomings or regrets. Aging often brings up feelings of regret, decisions we wish we had made differently, opportunities we feel we missed, relationships that we may have neglected. But Zen teaches us that the present moment is all we truly have. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. The only place we can act is here and now. By forgiving ourselves for any mistakes or missed opportunities, we free ourselves to live fully in the present. In Zen practice, the present moment is where all transformation happens. It is in this moment that we have the power to change, to grow, and to find peace. The past is gone, and the future is not yet here. So the only place we can truly live is in the present moment. By practicing mindfulness and accepting the natural flow of life, we allow ourselves to experience each moment with clarity, love, and peace. Living fully in the present does not mean living without regrets or without preparing for the future. It means that we focus on what we can do today, right now, to live authentically and with purpose. It means appreciating the beauty of each moment and embracing the changes that come with aging, knowing that they are part of the larger process of transformation that we are all a part of. In the next section, we will explore the final moments of life. We will look at how Zen teaches us to approach our death not with fear, but with gratitude and peace. By cultivating a deep acceptance of death, we can live fully and die with grace. In the final stages of life, Zen Buddhism teaches us to approach death with acceptance and deep peace. It is a transition, a return to the source from which we came, rather than an ending to be feared. This understanding transforms how we experience aging and death, shifting our focus from what we are losing to what we are gaining: wisdom, clarity, and the opportunity to live fully in the present moment. Zen helps us embrace these final moments, knowing that death is not something that separates us from life, but something that is woven into the very fabric of existence. As we approach death, there is a profound invitation to let go of everything: our body, our mind, our attachments, and to surrender to the natural flow of life. In Zen, there is no fear of death because there is no attachment to the self. The self, in the Zen tradition, is not a fixed, permanent entity. It is an ever-changing process, a continuous unfolding. To let go of attachment to the self is to free ourselves from the fear of death. For we understand that our true essence transcends the physical body and the ego. In the final moments of life, we can practice mindful dying, a concept that invites us to be fully present with the process of dying. This is similar to the Zen practice of sitting in stillness, simply being with what is, without judgment or resistance. In mindful dying, we approach death not as something to be avoided, but as a natural process that we can face with acceptance, peace, and gratitude. Zen teaches us that by being present with each breath, each moment, we can live fully, even as death approaches. One of the most beautiful practices in Zen is the preparation for death. Zen monks are often taught to meditate on the impermanence of life and to reflect on the reality of death as part of their daily practice. This meditation helps them embrace the truth that nothing in this world is permanent, including their own lives. By accepting death as a natural part of the cycle, Zen practitioners cultivate a deep sense of peace that allows them to live fully and die gracefully. For those of us who are not monks, the practice of mindful dying can still offer profound guidance. We may not have years of training, but we can still bring mindfulness and presence to our final moments. In the final stages of aging, we can begin to cultivate a sense of gratitude for the life we have lived. Every relationship, every experience, every moment of joy and sorrow has shaped us into who we are. As we face death, we can let go of any regrets or fears, knowing that we have lived fully the true meaning of life. Zen teaches us is not found in what we accumulate or achieve, but in how we experience each moment. At the time of death, we can use the practice of no self to let go of our attachment to the identity we have created throughout our lives. We can release the need to control, to hold on to memories, or to fear the unknown. The essence of who we are transcends the body and mind. Zen teaches that the ultimate liberation comes when we surrender to the flow of life, embracing death as part of the greater whole, rather than something to resist or fear. Zen offers us an opportunity to live well and die with grace. When we practice mindfulness and acceptance, we find peace not just in life, but also in death. Death is not an obstacle to overcome, but a natural part of our existence. By accepting it, we transcend the fear that holds us back from living fully. We realize that death is not an end, but a return to the source, the great mystery that encompasses us all. In our final moments, we can reflect on the teachings of Zen, that life is impermanent, that suffering and joy are interwoven, that attachment causes suffering, and that peace comes from living with full awareness of each moment. As we approach death, we can live with the understanding that we have always been part of the great cycle of life, and that this cycle continues long after our physical bodies are gone. And so, we face a death with a sense of gratitude for the life we have lived and the lessons we have learned. We let go of fear, attachment, and resistance, and we embrace the unknown with open hearts. In the final moments of life, we can practice letting go with deep serenity, knowing that we have lived fully and authentically in alignment with the teachings of Zen. In closing, Zen invites us to embrace aging and death not as a burden, but as an opportunity for spiritual growth, transformation, and peace. It teaches us to live each moment with mindfulness, to embrace impermanence, and to let go of our attachments to the fleeting aspects of life. By practicing acceptance, compassion, and non-attachment, we can find peace in the final stages of life, knowing that we are part of something greater and that our journey continues. Even as we let go of the physical body, remember, aging and death are not things to be feared. They are simply part of the natural flow of life. By embracing them with grace and acceptance, we can live fully, love deeply, and leave behind a legacy of peace and wisdom.